New haircut, same me, and it's time for the third of three prediction videos. The NBA playoffs are officially set with last night's play-in games. We now know who's facing who in the two upper tier matchups on each side, so we can officially predict the playoff bracket. And just like the NHL one from yesterday, check it out if you haven't already. Also check out the WrestleMania 42 predictions if you haven't already. This is just vibes. I Other than the Celtics, I have no skin in the game, but it's just vibes. But before we do that, I want to remind y'all that there's now 4 days left in the Steering Wheel Nation Miller Tech Pocono ticket giveaway. As a reminder, you get 2 tickets Friday through Sunday, entire weekend of NASCAR action at the Pocono Raceway, as well as a Miller Tech LED rechargeable headlamp. There's over 2,100 entries so far. Link will be in the description and the top pinned comment. Go check it out. Go enter. And with that being said, playoffs. Here we are. So, um, we'll go as it's listed. So we'll start in the West, and then we'll go to the East, like I did in the NHL video. Starting off with the number one seed Oklahoma City Thunder against the eighth seeded Phoenix Suns, who lost the 7-8 matchup to Portland and then beat the Warriors to get the 8th seed. Thunder in 5. They what the funny thing about the first round is most of these matchups are probably going to get done in 5 games at most, if not a sweep, just based on the matchup. And the Suns, they don't have enough to deal with the Thunder whatsoever. I can tell you that one straight up. 4v5 Lakers versus Rockets. Um, the Lakers are down a couple of guys. Doncic won't be back through the first round, if not very late in the round. I think Reeves is hurt also. And what it sucks because this might be the last time we get to see LeBron face Kevin Durant. Um, and might also be the final playoffs for LeBron. We don't exactly know if he's going to retire after this year, but rumor is that he doesn't, which I kind of find this hard to believe, but he apparently doesn't want a whole retirement tour. He just wants to bow out. Um, and if that's the case, well, you're probably going out in the first round in 6. Which is crazy because this might also be one of KD's last shots at a title, in the grand scheme of things. But I follow some at least I follow a Rockets fan who's pretty in depth with it all, and he has said time and again this Rockets team has felt disappointing compared to last year. Like last year they surged and then they make the KD trade and it feels like they've taken a step back, but I don't even if the Lakers had Luca and Reeves at 100%, I still think it would be hard for the Lakers to win this series, which is kind of nuts. And if I'm the Lakers, I think you have to go into the offseason preparing for a LeBron retirement. And if he doesn't lean that way, then you kind of have to look at him and be like, look, dude, we got to do something here because it's time for Luca to take over leadership of the team. It's time to get some guys around him and Reeves, or possibly just Luca if they decide to ship off Reeves. So, give me the Rockets in 6. Then you have the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. Uh, Shut up, phone. They get to play again. Um, this will be a fun one. This isn't, these teams continue to evolve. The last time they played, Minnesota beat Denver in the playoffs. Um, but again, both of these teams are different now than they were then. And I think Denver's got just enough to where um, they can hold off Anthony Edwards or hold off the team around Anthony Edwards and let Anthony do whatever enough to win the series. So I'll say Nuggets in 6. And then you got the Spurs and the Trailblazers. Again, Spurs in five. There's no reason unless Wemby gets hurt, unless Wemby gets knocked out of the series, there is no reason why the Spurs should be eliminated in the first round this year. Um, with the way that this team is and the way that Wemby's been playing. So give me the Spurs in five. And on the East side, Detroit and Orlando. Again, similar to the in a similar way to the Suns. Orlando lost their first playing game as the eighth seed and had to beat ninth seeded Charlotte to retain the eighth seed instead of moving up to seven. But this one might be close, but Pistons in like mm, I really want to say five, but I'm gonna say six just in case. I don't see the Pistons losing, but I do think Orlando's going to make it tight. It would be pretty insane if Orlando pulled off the upset, though. It would be. But I don't think there's really any indication that they're going to as of right now. Cleveland and Toronto. Shout out the Raptors. They're in the playoffs and the Leafs are not, so make of that what you will. But I think the Raptors still have quite a ways to go, even though they are a fifth seed, to getting back into the upper echelon that they haven't been in since they had Kawhi. And Cleveland with Harden alongside Donovan Mitchell has worked out pretty well so far. So give me the Cavaliers in six. Again, this is another one where I could say five, but I'm going to say six just in case. Knicks, Hawks. The Hawks traded Trey Young, and here they are in the playoffs. Um, this is a young Atlanta team that I think is still trying to figure themselves out. Whereas you look at New York, and I don't want to say this is the last shot for New York, with the team as it is. It's entirely possible that if they continue with Brunson as the lead, that maybe Cat has to get moved. Maybe they got to get somebody else. There is the Giannis rumors that Giannis really, really, really wants to go to New York. I would assume if they get him, then they have to move Cat. So, there's that. However, I'm a wrestling fan, and if you guys know the character Danhausen, he likes to curse people that wrong him, or just curse people in general. Stephen A. Smith is a Knicks fan, and Danhausen went on ESPN this week and he cursed Stephen A. Smith. So by proxy, he cursed the Knicks. So therefore, give me Atlanta in seven. Are the Knicks probably going to win? Probably. But give me Atlanta in seven for the lulls. And then Boston and Philly. Come on. Philly without Embiid against Boston, the team that has consistently kicked their backside in the playoffs. Yeah, Boston in five. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Boston in five. Confidently Boston in five. I'm not gonna say it's a sweep because Boston they do tend to drop a game in these sorts of situations, but Boston in five. Um so um Back on the west side, you got the Thunder against the Rockets in round two. KD against the team he started. Well, technically he started his career with the Sonics, but the team that he started with. By the way, shout out Seattle. Looks like they're on their way back. Um, this is gonna be a fun one. Again, it would be fun if KD took the Rockets to the Western Conference Final and had to beat his former team to do it. Um, all the stereotypes and all the media points about, KD should have been able to win with the Thunder, never did, left for Golden State, da 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 da, all this other stuff. Um, I think the Thunder have just enough to get it done. So give me the Thunder in six. Um, but that's going to be a tight one. And if the Rockets get to a series lead, first of all, you better hope they don't choke. But more importantly, If they get to a series lead, I will be interested to see how the Thunder play from behind. And then on the other side, Spurs and Nuggets, Jokic versus Wemby. Um, I think this is going to come down more so to the supporting cast around these star centers. And the Spurs, they have De'Aaron Fox. They've got a bunch of young guys as well. Denver is more versatile in terms of their veteran depth around and some young depth around Jokic. I know that Denver's walking into the playoffs hurt, but if guys get healthy, that will make things even more interesting. I think this goes 7 games. I probably shouldn't be picking against Wemby, but give me Denver in 7. I don't think the Spurs right now are ready for a Western Conference Finals appearance, but they're gonna get next year. I think next year the Spurs next year might even overcome the Thunder to be the number one team in the conference. But yeah, give me the Nuggets. And on the other side, Pistons and Cavs, Hawks and Celtics. Um, I think the Pistons. Excuse me. Just, dang it! Stop. Um, this is going to be an interesting one because again, you've got Mitchell and Harden and company against Cade Cunningham and company. I do think Detroit's really good. It's good to see them at the top of the conference, and I'm saying that even as a Celtics fan. But there's something about this Cavs team to where I think they know if they don't do it this year, they're going to be hard pressed to do it moving forward, especially coming off of last year's disappointment or disappointing exit, I should say. So this is a tough one, but give me the Cavaliers in 7. And then on the other side, I think again Boston probably beats Atlanta in like 5. Um, again, I'm picking Atlanta over the Knicks for the Danhausen curse, but after that, no, Atlanta should not be beating Boston. And I don't think Boston needs to take very long. Probably another 5 game series. They'll probably drop one, but give me Boston to advance. So that leaves us with a conference final of Thunder versus Nuggets and Cavaliers versus Celtics. Um, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a part of me that feels like this could be one. I don't want to say one of the last shots that Denver's got with the roster as it is around Jokic to make the finals and win another title. I am picking Denver in 7, by the way. I There's something about the Thunder where it's just like if one or two things go differently, they don't win last year. And I don't think they're gonna get the same breaks that they got last year compared to this year, even though they started off the season so hot. But give me Denver in 7. And on the other side, um, give me Boston in 6 over the Cavaliers. And that's not me being biased. That's just Tatum and Brown. Tatum and Brown against Mitchell and Harden. Who are you picking? Yeah, exactly. So that gives us a NBA final of the Celtics versus the Nuggets. And if you told a Celtics fan that we'd be back in the finals, with Tatum in a year where Tatum's been out almost all year, coming off of last playoffs Achilles injury, we would look at you and be like, "Are you out of your mind?" But um, Boston again. Oh, this is fun. Um, oh, See, it's like on the one hand, it's very easy for me to pick the Celtics. On the other hand, if Tatum has a bad night, or Jalen has a bad night, or both of them have a bad night, I don't know if the supporting cast around them is good enough to help Boston overcome Jokic and Murray and Peyton Watson and everybody else on the Nuggets. That being said, if everybody around Jokic has a bad night, as much as Jokic has been a demigod all these years, he still is only one guy. So I'm going to go with the bias pick, but it's also the honest pick. Because I think if you ask someone, who are you taking, Celtics or Nuggets, I think most people might say the Celtics. So give me Boston in 7 to go and get their second championship in the Tatum Brown era. Um, going two titles in 3 years, three finals appearances in what, 4 or 5 years now? We're going back to their loss against Golden State. So, um, yeah. And if I had to pick I didn't pick a Finals MVP in the NHL video just because, um, I picked I didn't have a lot of the Hurricanes roster in my head, off the dome to think about. But with Boston, probably I would say Tatum's probably would probably win MVP, either him or Jalen. It's gonna be one of them two because if I had to guess, I think Tatum will probably have a couple of 30 plus, maybe even a 40 plus point night. Jalen will have a couple of those. It might just depend on the night. And Boston gets it done. So Boston Celtics, NBA champions. If you don't like it, don't care. We're the best. And I'll catch you next time. Peace.